Hey everybody, welcome. We'll give everyone 5 minutes again to kind of come in. That seems to work well. So we will wait. Any questions that you guys have so far, you can also put it in the comments as usual. But we will give it 5 minutes before we start. Hello, Scotland. Hello. What time is it in Scotland right now? We will answer that question in about 5 minutes. Whisker? Yeah, they don't have, unfortunately, no benefits so far. Yeah, I'll give everyone 5 minutes like last time. Maybe I'll go grab some water and grab a snack and I'll be right back. Hey, James, good to see you. Whisker, you're not in BC though, right? Were you Alberta, if I remember correctly? Oh, that's right. It's the NFL draft today. Probably not the best day to be doing a live Q&A with the NFL draft going on. Yeah, James, we'll get to that question in about a couple of minutes. We'll let people funnel in. Lexter, hello. Brandon, we'll get to that question in a few minutes. We'll just let people funnel in before I start answering questions. Any questions, you guys can keep funneling them into the chat box, and then I'll get to them one by one from the top. Oh, West, interesting. I thought it was just BC. Hey, Joseph, good to see you again. Yeah, no talks in Ontario yet, Whisker, but no rush. Safety first. I'm in no rush. Worse things in life than not being able to play golf, so I can wait. Yeah, we'll give it 2 more minutes and then we'll start answering some questions. What time is the NFL draft? Let me take a look. Oh, 8 p.m. I think. 5 Pacific. 5 Pacific. I think it's 8 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah, interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they do the draft with coronavirus. If any leaks happen or anything like that between teams. All right, let's let's start. I'll start answering some questions while some people funnel in. Let's see. First question, Ada. So, any tips on what the wrist should be doing when starting the downswing, finding it harder to really shallow out the club? So typically, if you have issues shallowing the club in transition, which means the club is flattening in transition, chances are you have too much wrist angle. So a lot of people have been told in the past to hold your wrist angles or increase wrist angles, create more lag in the traditional sense of having that wrist angle get sharpened. When you do that, that actually makes the club really, really steep. You actually want to make sure the club falls more behind you. So one way to shallow is to let the wrist bend back. So you can see if this is the club head, the club falls more back. Other ways to do it is a down hinge behind you. So down hinge is the opposite of increasing angles. Down hinge is kind of thumbs down. You can see when it thumbs down, the club also shallows. It's just making sure you down hinge behind you, or you can shallow by letting that club the wristband make the club go more back. So a couple of ways to do it. Just depends on what you prefer. So we'll try that out. If you struggle with shallowing it out, James, when trying to create separation in the downswing by pushing your body against against the arm, how do you stop this from becoming over the top? That's a good question, James. So if you do a good job of keeping your arms back, so this is my arm pinning against my chest. You can see my hands stay behind me. The club and hands also stay behind me. The more my arms go out, that's more likely for me to come over the top. If I do that loop and pin that arm against my chest, you can see the hands and clubs stay more back, and that actually reduces the likelihood of me coming over the top. So creating that separation, creating any separation between the upper and lower body and the downswing actually will decrease the likelihood of you coming across the top or over the top. It will help you come more from the inside. So hope that answers that, James. Brandon, can you explain the arm position of how you want it to look 45 degrees? Brandon, if you want to clarify that, where the arm position should look, where in the backswing or where in the downswing? Maybe if you can clarify that, I can answer that question a little bit better. Just let me know where in the swing you're asking about your arm position during the swing. Yeah, no league play at all with Skirt. It's okay with me. Probably wait till next year, but safety first. James, preferred release pattern. Um, well, that's a kind of that's pretty broad, but I like as a general guideline for what I prefer. I like the release. I like the body rotating through the impact area where the arm is still strapped against your chest. So if you rotate, the body rotates, and eventually the arms come into the ball, and eventually the club and hands come through the ball. I like it in that sense of the release where everything starts from the ground up. I don't generally ask people to release this way or this way. We kind of build it in from a big picture point of view, where if the legs start, the legs to the knees, to the hips, to the torso, to the chest, the arms to the hands, the release should take care of itself. If I really do need to ask someone to release it one way or the other, be it a down hinge or maybe more of a roll of the forearms, it really depends on what needs to be felt to fit that picture as a whole from starting from the ground up. Seems like the Patriots will get all the leaks. They need all the help they can get after the big departures from the team. Lexter, I would like to know after impact, is it okay for the hands to go at target or even a bit right of the target, or they should go left after impact? Honestly, it's okay for things to go at the target or away. Really depends on what helps you hit the ball better. Now, there are kind of pros and cons to it. The more the hands go out, down in the follow through, or more even to the right in the follow through, the more disconnected your arm could potentially be with the body. But if you're someone who hits the ball better because you let your hands go straight or to the right, then that's totally cool. Keep doing you. Maybe down the road you want to work on things exiting left. Ideally, the hands would kind of follow where the how follow the body's rotation and how the body is rotating and extending through the shot. So that's why a lot of the times better players will see the hands exit a little bit more to the left. But again, if you hit it well, feeling like the hands exit straight or to the right as a righty, and you hit it well, there's really nothing wrong with it. There seems like there's no reason to change. Lewis, I'm having trouble keeping my right heel on the ground through impact. It seems to be coming up when squatting and rotating, but before impact. Any ideas what might be causing this? Um, if your right heel is coming up off the heel through impact because you're pushing off the ground really hard, that's one thing. If your right heel is kind of lifting off the ground because you're not rotating properly, that's another. So if I'm assuming you're not rotating properly and your right heel is lifting up, maybe I'll show you the foot. So you can see my right foot here, right? So if your foot comes off like this, that's totally not what we want. If it comes off more like that, as it banks and rotates and it comes up, then that's more acceptable. So if you're doing it the bad way of just coming up, that's usually because you are stepping into your toes to start the transition, to start the downswing, and that's why you can't rotate. So when you do that, your right heel lifts up like that to give you a sense you're rotating, but you're actually rotating and crowding the ball more, which is why you're not maintaining your posture, which is a result of you just going to your toes in the downswing. So I would probably at first I've already guessed what you're doing. I would try to bias the heel side more in the transition and downswing. Feel like your weight's more in your heels, traveling from your trail heel to your lead heel, and that should help you keep your heel on the ground longer through the impact area. Yeah, Alexa, you if your hands are going straight at the target, it's probably just your arms are disconnecting from your chest a little bit, or you might not be rotating as nicely while you maintain inclination. You might be losing a little bit of posture where your upper body is tilting back a bit through the ball. Those are all reasons why your hands might be going more straight down the target as opposed to left. But again, if you hit it well, there's really no reason why you need to change to go left. It will only work if you can shallow it out. Usually, players who I work with who are so this is a more vertical structure. This is a little bit less vertical. It's actually easier to come down on a more shallower shaft line if it's already kind of flattish. Just we can just rotate. If it's vertical, you have to do extra stuff to get it to shallow. It just depends on the player. Depends on how the overall movement flows. Depends on what they prefer. But I wouldn't say it's necessarily a downside, just depends on what fits the player's picture and just what matches up a little bit better for that player. Don, what angle of attack do you like to see with 7 iron? How can you manipulate angle of attack? Angle of attack really depends on how fast the player is. The slower the player, the shallower the angle of attack would probably be to maximize distance and having a nice trajectory. If you're someone who hits down on if you're someone who is a faster player, you can benefit from hitting down. You can actually get away with hitting down on the more roughly 4 or 5 ish degrees is a pretty decent spot to be around for your average player. If you're someone who swings it at, let's say, 70 miles an hour with a 7 iron, which is somewhat on the slower side, then you would be more in the 1 to 2 range. If you want to try to change your angle of attack, it really depends on how you rotate through the ball with your upper body, depending on how you keep your incline. So if you're someone who wants to hit down on it more because you're very shallow through it, your chances you're shallow because you're tilting back. If you maintain your inclination as you turn, that will help you hit down on it more. If you're someone who actually turns through it really well, but you're actually very steep, chances are you have to just down hinge and release your angles more. That would help you shallow it out if you're someone who hits down on it too much. So hope that helps, Don. You're welcome, James. Whisker, a firmer grip, which you like. Any tips on pre-routine to ensure firmer grip without promoting tension? Good question. Honestly, it's just so when you hold the club, I like both hands equally firm on the club. Not having one hand be more firm than the other, making sure it's equally firm. And then from there, it's just trying to move properly. So I think a lot of times when people feel like they're too tense with the firm grip is because they're just not used to holding the club firm. At the end of the day, there has to be some tension in your muscles to create more speed. It's like lifting weights. If you're trying to lift weights with authority, with conviction, trying to move weight fast, you have to grip the weight firm. That kind of activates your muscles a little bit better. That helps you get your CNS fired up a little bit more, and that will help you recruit more power into the movement. So that's why I prefer a firmer grip. Hey, Steven, can you demonstrate preferred position of chest, hip, arms, and hands at impact? Yeah, I can kind of do it in here. Ask me again in a month. I can probably give you a better picture of it, and once I have more room. So from the face-on view at impact, so let's use this doorknob as an example, okay? So if this doorknob is the starting point at setup, I do not like seeing that. So if we see that, you can see my pelvis is still facing somewhat of the ball line. A lot of slide, no rotation. The pose that I've had people feel like they're not too slidey. It feels like they're very centered where they started, with the lead shoulder down the arm to the hands, down the club to be a straight line. I like that. A lot of rotation, pelvis, chest facing past the ball, okay? For most people who feel that, chances are they're going to be just a little bit past, a little bit towards the target in reality, but I like feeling a lot of the centeredness in the rehearsals. From the down the line view, you can see if we use this door frame here as an example, this line here for my where my tush line is, I like feeling my butt stays back, trail leg slightly bent, trail arm slightly bent. You can see I'm very rotated here. Elbow down the arm, down the club kind of creates a straight line as well. So those are kind of references I like. How much rotation will vary on the player, but most of my clients who hit the ball really well will have some rotation, will have that trail arm bent, will have that trail leg slightly bent as well, and then kind of just evolves from there. Whoops. Sorry, let me just scroll back up. Lexter. In the backswing, left arm parallel to the ground, P3. I think, yes, you're right. That's P3. Where do you like the shaft to point down the line? Inside the ball, at the ball, outside, or it doesn't matter? My preference is at the ball or inside the ball. I like it a little steeper overall. I have some clients who it really doesn't matter. I'm okay with it being slightly outside the ball, being a little bit on the flatter end because it just moves very well for them. But generally, I like seeing P3, the club shaft pointing at the ball or inside the ball. I do like it a little bit on the steeper side. Brandon, up top, how far does the right arm is away from body? The right arm is definitely not pinned to the body at all. It's gonna give you it's hard to kind of give you an exact distance because it all depends on how long the person's right arm is. But I really just make sure that the right arm is long. You can see I have space here. I don't like this cramped up. I like there to be space. I like the elbows together to have get structure with everything moving as a unit. And that's how I like it with the lead arm covering the shoulders. I don't like seeing this right elbow fly out too far. I also don't like seeing the right arm pin against your chest. So I would that's kind of a rough reference for you, Brandon. Hey, Colin. So my thoughts on super speed golf, it's a little just it depends on the player. I personally have not seen success with it. I actually got a little bit slower, oddly enough. So for me, it didn't really work for me personally. And I did follow the instructions. I followed it. I followed the instructions. I followed the protocol. It just didn't work for me. For some people, it will work. It really just depends on the player. For you, Colin, for what we're doing so far, I would not use it just because I think if you were to start using super speed right now, you would actually get a little too steep again with the transition and then start tilting too much, which we definitely don't want. So for you, I would probably not use it at this moment. Paul, I can't stop tilting too much backwards on the downswing. I squat, lead hip, lead shoulder down, but when I go to rotate, my head goes back and my chest is pointing upwards. Please help. Chances are you're not exaggerating enough. Tough to really help with see the swing, Paul, but chances are you're not exaggerating enough, or something is just moving in a way that's different than what you're perceiving it to be. So hard to help without seeing the swing, unfortunately. Lexter, down the line, I don't like my club exit between my left ear and left shoulder. Too vertical, and would like to know what would produce this instead of club exiting left shoulder is like most pros. Well, because your hands are exiting down the line and down the target, that is why it's going to happen. Your club and the club is not going to exit underneath the left shoulder unless your hands also exit left. So it's just a result of how you currently exit. That is why that happens for you. Joel, would an acceptable feel for shallowing the club be bringing your elbow to your hip as you squat? No, I don't really like that as a feel because it brings it's too armsy of a feel. It brings your hands down. We don't want that. I also don't want you to narrow this up as a feel where if you bring your right elbow to your hip, your right arm starts getting pinned to your chest. You also get very narrow. So I don't really like feeling that at all as a shallowing feel, Joel. But I mean, that's just how I perceive what you're describing. If it works for you, great. There's nothing wrong with it, but that's just how I personally perceive what you're describing at this point. Golf swings. Do you ever equate the swing to a throwing motion? I find it helps my sequence plus path plus rotation, but I still don't get my hands forward enough at impact. Any one tip or throwing feel to get hands forward? No, I don't equate the swing to a throwing motion. So not sure how I can help you with that. If right now something just doesn't add up with what you're describing, unfortunately. If your sequence and path and rotation is good, you will have proper shafting. You will have your hands forward enough. So either your hands are forward enough already, and you just think you need more, which might not be the case, or your sequence and path and rotation is just not as good as it potentially be. But I personally would not recommend a throwing motion to any of my clients. At least I've never compared it to a throwing motion. I don't like that at all. Just because the trail line was straightened too much and it just gets too armsy. The arms get too ahead in the sequence. So that is why. Tony, hi from the UK. Hello, Tony. What is best for a downswing start, either the loop or a down hinge, to stop me pulling my hands down too quickly? If you're someone who struggles with pulling their hands down, I would ask you to down hinge. Down hinging forces the club down before the hands go down. If you pull your hands down, the club head stays up. So by down hinging, if you down hinge and you pull, you're gonna chunk every single shot you're ever gonna hit. So to really force you not to pull your hands down, if you were to down hinge every single time, that would help you learn how to rotate through the ball without pulling your hands down. So I would try down hinging a lot to start that downswing at this point. You're welcome, Steven. Welcome, Lexter. EJG experience. Is your lead foot spinning out through impact problem? Depends on how it is spinning out. A lot of that's a question that gets that depends as an answer, unfortunately. Too depends on player to player, depends on why it's spinning out, depends on what's causing it. It could be it could be okay, it cannot be okay. Hard to say. Oh, my connection is unstable. You guys still see me okay? I just got a notification that my connection is unstable. Let me know if you guys see me. But the thing is still going on, so I'm assuming it's okay. I'll keep answering questions. You guys let me know if I cut out or anything. Just a little slow. Interesting. I guess we will. Okay, awesome. Must have just been a temporary thing. Okay, so going back to Whisker's question, last three books that you've read on golf or whatever. Anything can be not necessarily golf books, but books that apply to golf. I don't actually read too much in terms of golf books. I actually like listening to I like reading a lot of different articles or experiences online. I like listening to podcasts, and doing that kind of stuff when I'm working out or working. So if it's podcasts that I've really liked, that I've listened to, and the last two podcasts is I really like Naval's on Joe Rogan podcast. There's a guy he interviews called Naval Ravikant. I think I really like listening to his perspectives on things. Another person, I really like listening to Tony Romo's podcast that he had with Dr. Phil. I think Tony Romo seems like he's like got a really optimistic and really positive view on life, which I really like. And then I also what was another one I've listened to recently? What was another one that I've enjoyed recently? I think Naval and Tony Romo's really stood out to me in the most recent bit. I listened to Jack Dorsey's podcast with Joe Rogan as well. I really enjoyed hearing about that. And I also really like listening about I think who was it? I think it was Damon. I think his name is Damon John. He's a guy in Shark Tank. He did an interview with NPR's How I Made It. I think that's the podcast talking about how he created his company and his brand. I really like listening to things like that, and I think that helps me become a better person and a better golf coach, actually. But nothing golf specific. I just like watching golf swings and experimenting on things and trying things out. Chase Ross, do you think flatter lie angles promote better delivery characteristics? I think flatter lie angles will help you move the club and rotate in a better way in a golf swing, which would ultimately probably deliver better delivery characteristics. So in that sense, you could say that yes, most of my clients who hit the ball well will generally have a flatter lie angle into the ball. Almost none of my clients who hit the ball well have a very toe down impact conditions. So I would say better players would tend to deliver the club flatter into the ball. Cameron Williams, how do you prevent hitting blocks and trying to shallow the club? Just got to make sure the face is square to the club face relationship to the path is in an acceptable range, and that is slightly close to the club path, then you will not hit blocks. Just because you could be shallow in the club and just could be leaving the face open. You could just close the face a little bit, and then that will help you not block it. Good to hear, Lewis. Yeah, if you're someone who struggles with heel coming up, generally you're just going to your toes too much. Really exaggerate staying in your heels tend to help with that. You're welcome. Golf swings. Hopefully no virus, Steven. I think there was a little bit of a delay with I just got a kind of notification saying the connection was a little bit suspect, but hopefully it's okay now. Hopefully it's not buffering still. Golf swings. Are there any other athletic motions or sports you equate or compare to the golf swings to in lessons? Coming from a baseball hockey background personally, I really like comparing the golf swing with Olympic lifts. I think Olympic lifts doing a clean is really good transfer of energy from the ground up to get that bar up. I think that sequence is really good to copy in a golf swing, in the sense of trying to create power, in the sense of trying to use the ground first. I think throwing a baseball as hard as you can is also one I really like, because just from the transference of energy from your trail foot up the legs, up the body, into the arms. Not necessarily of delivering the club, but just from a power generating sense. I really like that. Anything where you're trying to move weight really fast tend to be things I really like comparing the golf swing to. Justin, if you're someone, good putting drills for someone that comes back too much inside and pushes putts. If you're someone who pushes putts, I would work on putting down a ruler, making sure you can keep that ball down the line, down the ruler for the entirety of. I think the rulers are usually like 3 feet or so, 4 feet or so, maybe 2 feet. Depends on the ruler, but just putting down an industrial ruler typically will help you with your start lines. Hey, Michael, good to see you. You're welcome, Joseph. Jim Smale. When does the upper body start rotation on the downswing? For most players, they would be better off just trying to engage the lower body to go first, and then the upper body will follow eventually. It's impossible to get the upper body not to rotate if the lower body is going the other way. The upper body will just catch up at one point or another. For most amateur golfers, where they feel like where the upper body actually goes way too early, feeling like their upper body doesn't turn at all or trying to resist that turn to start transition would actually be a better feel for them. So I wouldn't think about the upper body starting the rotation in the downswing. I would just focus on the lower body doing it and then let the upper body react from there. Hey, Josh, good to hear from you. Everything is as I'm doing as well as one can hope to be during this time. Hopefully you're doing well too. You're welcome, Colin. Wow, you guys are playing golf. That's pretty. Hopefully you guys stay safe out there. Christian, good drills to increase angle of attack with driver hitting about 0 to 1 up. If you're 0 to 1 up and you're hitting it well, there's really no reason to try to change for the sake of trying to change it. But if you feel like you must hit up on it a little bit more, I would try to downhinge the club more behind you, release the wrist angles earlier in the downswing. That will help you hit up on it a little bit more. Yeah, I hear you on that, Whisker. Still, I'm not moved in yet, so I gotta wait till May 8th before I get a better internet service. So we'll have to wait it out for now until May 8th. Justin, good drill to keep the right elbow from getting behind the shirt seam line and getting stuck. Assuming you're talking about the backswing, I actually uploaded a video a couple of days ago talking about that, making sure that the right elbow stays in front of the rib cage. So I think it was a drill where I talked about putting your left arm against your chest. That's kind of like a wall, and then just making turns without your elbow touching the arm. If your arms go first, you can see my right arm is hitting my left arm. We don't want that. We want to keep that arms not touching as we turn, and then hopefully bring that into the actual swing later on. I think that's the second most recent video I've uploaded, so you can take a look at that, Justin. Hopefully that will help. Hey, Josh. Yeah, you gotta keep keeping the wrists locked will be big for you. We did a lot of good work when you came up to see me. Just keep following the steps that we laid out for you, and then things should be really good, Josh. Eric, hey Larry, gyms are closed here and I don't have any weights. Any exercises you recommend to strengthen my glutes and legs while we are quarantined? The legs, feet, the whole. Yeah, hard to strengthen them without actually lifting heavy weights. I think doing very slow on the way down squats, like just body weight squats, and then pushing up as hard as you can will be a good way to just keep them moving. If you have something heavy, I will throw it up into the sky as hard as you can, and then I would also slam it down to the ground as hard as you can. I think that will help with the sequencing, but hard to replace actually doing heavy exercises if you're trying to get the legs stronger. For your glutes, same thing, but you can do a lot of single leg stuff, single leg glute bridges. Those will help just trying to activate your glutes a little bit more. But nothing really beats if you're trying to purely strengthen up, going to the gym and lifting weights, doing squats and all that stuff. So hard to do without weights. Christian, The real issue spawns from me delofting the club with my hands, causing my launch angle to be around 10 or 11. So that's probably what I need to work on more, correct? Well, yeah, you would so it sounds like you would definitely benefit from down hinging the club more and releasing the club earlier in the downswing. So I would have you, you can keep everything else the same and just feel like you down hinge and release the club as early and as hard as you can behind you in the downswing. That will help you deliver more loft. That will help you hit up on it more. It will probably improve a lot of things for you, actually, if you're someone who struggles with delivering too little loft into the impact. Yeah, you're welcome, Jesse. Yeah, resistance bands are good for the glutes. If you tie them, if you put the band up just above your knees and do really slow, I forgot what it's called, where you like slowly bring your right foot out, feeling engagement in your glutes, and then slowly bring your left foot towards your right foot while trying to resist that band from snapping it in. I forgot what that was called, but that will be a good one with resistant bands to help you keep your glutes engaged and moving. Alex, thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. Yeah, you could shoot me an email if you want to get in touch for in-person lessons whenever this is all said and done, whenever COVID is past us. I haven't done Wednesday nights at TXG for a little bit, Whisker. I just got they got really busy, and I don't want to take up space from them. Plus, it was a little bit far for me as well, so the logistics just didn't really work out too much on both ends. So we'll see. And I would very, very safely say I would not go to Mississauga to do a lesson. Being where I am in Markham, Mississauga, driving across the city is no fun. Almost at almost all times during the day. Yeah, you're welcome, Christian. Glad you popped in. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of good resistant activities you can do with the resistance bands. Nothing replaces if you have a trusty strength and conditioning coach you can refer to give you proper exercises to tackle what you need. That would be the best bet. Me not being an S&C coach and me not knowing how your body works in that realm, it will be tough for me to give you pinpointed exercises. Any exercises I would say is just purely from my own personal experience working with my strength and conditioning coach and with my athletic therapist. But those have been pretty helpful to me. For me personally, I think just because I'm a skinnier guy, I have found the most benefits for me personally to be lifting weights heavy. I found I got the strongest and I felt like the healthiest when I was lifting heavy weights 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. That seemed to work really well for me, and I look forward to returning to those days as soon as the quarantine is lifted. But I also do plan on putting a gym into the basement of the house, so hopefully I can get back on that very soon. But until then, gotta stay patient. Just doing at-home stuff. So speaking of the TRX, Whisker, what I do with the TRX now is kind of a typical exercise routine I work with now. Just because we're at home, is I'll foam roll as usual. I still foam roll every day just to make sure I stay as limber as possible. Foam roll, do some mobility exercises. So let me actually pull it up. My strength coach actually programs it for me into the app. He does some online stuff. He's actually starting to do some online stuff as well, which is nice to see. So what do I do? Let me see. Let me pull it up. So I'll foam roll to start, and then just as some prep work, I'll do some dead bugs, I'll do some cat camels, I'll do some hip circles, I'll do some T-spine rotation stuff, do some lion lumbar rotation just to prep the body after I foam roll. And then the circuit I do with my TRX, these are kind of 3 sets of 10. So I'll run through all 9 exercises as one set, and then I'll do a couple of those walks where I talk about the band, and then I'll chill for a couple of minutes, and then I'll do the set again. So I do reverse lunges on both feet, on both legs. I'll do inverted rows, chest press, skull crushers, bicep curls, calf raises, deltoid flies, lying reverse crunches, and lying leg curls. So he just kind of programs it for me in the Train Heroic app. And then if I have to look at what it is, I just open it up, and then there's actually videos I can watch to tell me what it is. So it works out pretty well. I've been training with him for like 3 years now, I think. So he really good guy. Really trust him with the well being of my body. Yes, yeah, Steven. The resistance band stuff I really do like. I think it's pretty safe for most people, and I think most people could benefit from doing it. Christian, awesome. Yeah, I'll get back to you later tonight. Then I'm sure I've gotten that email already. If you emailed me on one of those emails on the website, yeah, I got your email. I'll get back to you later tonight. I definitely got your email. Thanks for the inquiry. Spicy tuna. I have a question about transition. When I weight shift and clear hips, I can't shallow club, and when I shallow club with hands, I can't clear a hip properly. Any tips? It sounds like there may be a breakdown in the understanding of what you're trying to do. I think the concepts might not actually be as clear as you think it is, which is why you can't do both. So tough to directly help you without knowing how you swing, because usually if people actually get their hips rotated properly in the downswing, the shallowing actually should follow. It's very rare you see someone who rotates their hips properly in the downswing but actually come in a very steep shaft. So there just might be a misunderstanding in the concept, or it might be a misperception of what you're feeling and what really happened. So hard to say unless I see a video, Spicy Tuna, unfortunately. Simon, um, I'm doing very well, thank you. If the course is wet or soft, do you adjust how you hit your pitch shots? Do you still expose the bounce and hit as normal or play it differently? Really depends on how wet or soft it is. I would try to hit it a little cleaner if it's really soggy. I would try to hit it a lot cleaner, but I would definitely not try to expose my leading edge at all. I would still try to have the bounce give me as much give as I can through the turf. That way I'm not chunking shots and having the ball go a couple of yards only. Nick Marks. I've been playing for 13 months now and shooting the low hundreds. Is this following situation normal for me? For the last week and a half, I've been crushing my iron swing in the sweet spot. Now all of a sudden my swing is literally gone. Top, thin, or chunk behind ball. How do I go from multiple range sessions of pure contact to actually crap the next day? So chances are, in your situation, your swing is very inconsistent. The swing that you've created in these 13 months might give you really good results at times, but it sounds like it's not a swing that's being created to give you consistency, to give you predictability. So it's actually not uncommon for the situation to happen at all. So there's probably things you can do to improve your swing to move better as a whole, and then you'll see these big roller coaster changes in performance start disappearing, which would be nice. So perfectly normal. If you're someone who shoots in the hundreds, it's perfectly normal to go through these ups and downs. Wow, 45 minutes already. Yeah. Why don't, if there's any more questions in the chat, feel free to put them in the chat now. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up and call it a night. It's been pretty productive so far. Actually, I didn't think I would get this many questions considering the NFL draft is tonight. So if you guys have any more questions, comment now. If I do miss it, you can also leave it in the comments of this video, and I'll answer and I'll type you back a reply once this video has been ended. For someone who is used to early extending and having a very straight arm and impact, does that increase AOA and increase dynamic loft? It definitely could. I think if you're someone who early extends and you straighten your arm quite a bit at impact, a lot of things could potentially happen. Um, it doesn't necessarily mean you'll increase angle of attack or increase dynamic lock, because you might make band-aid or compensation moves to try to get AOA back down or dynamic lock back down. So hard to say. It's not a direct correlation, but what you described could happen. Nick, what are my thoughts on Stack and Tilt? I think Stack and Tilt, there's a lot of good pieces in it. I think Andy and Mike, who created it, are very very smart people. I got nothing bad to say about Stack and Tilt at all. I think there's a lot of good things in having a system and in having pieces in play that you can pull out to improve someone's swing very quickly. Bucks, no, I don't root for any NFL teams. I'm not really a football guy. I follow it a little bit. I kind of follow all sports a little bit, but not really too invested in the NFL scene. Um, Although it was very cool to see the Raptors win last summer, win the NBA championships. I think I probably follow basketball the most. Um, but aside from that, I don't really follow NHL. I mean, I don't really root for the Leafs too much. I don't really root for the Blue Jays too much. But it is nice to see your hometown teams do well. But I am the most interested in the NBA. If anything, I do like watching NBA games quite a bit. Whisker, did you just say the only inconsistency in golf are the inconsistencies? Yeah, yeah, indirectly. Indirectly. Obviously, the better players, the inconsistencies of better players will always be a little bit better than the inconsistencies of a beginner golfer. So I think it's like that for any athlete in any sports. It was definitely a very special scene last summer. Yeah, very, very cool, our Bucks. No more questions. I guess we'll call it a night for today. So I'll probably be doing this every Thursday at 7 p.m. moving forward. So hopefully I'll see you guys next week at 7 p.m. And so again, as some of you guys have pointed out, Whisker in particular of the internet speed. The internet speed should improve in 2 weeks. I move into my new house May 8th. So hopefully internet will be faster. I'll have more room by then to do a better Q&A. And then hopefully in the not too distant future in the summer, I'll have the sim built up as well. I'll have the home gym in the basement as well. So I could actually answer questions better in the Q&As, especially being able to hit balls into the sim, or maybe just showing you guys what kind of exercises I like doing that have helped me personally with making a better golf swing. So hopefully that helps. I guess I'll answer Justin's question before I call it a day. For someone who struggles with having too much in you out, for someone who struggles with a too much into out path, the draw with Matt about taking the front shoulder down and left at the start of the downside has been a big help. Yes, for sure. If you're someone who struggles with too much inside out, it's probably because you tilt your upper body back. So having your elite shoulder go down and around will be very good in helping you reduce the into out. So happy to see that that's been helping. You're welcome, Howard. 10-foot ceilings, Whisker. 17-foot ceilings, actually. This house, luckily, this house was actually a custom build that the previous owners had built. So it's actually 17-foot ceilings in the living room. Lucky enough. So it'll be the video should get, but the Q&As will be getting better. Once I get the sim in, all future recorded videos will also be better. So a big reason why I decided to buy a house is actually to make better videos for you guys. So hopefully that will translate to better video videos. Hopefully that will translate to more views and subscribers, and that will expedite the growth of this channel. So hopefully that helps. Jeremy, I will text you right after this, and then everyone have a good night. Stay safe. Have a good night. Thanks for watching as usual, and then I'll see you guys next week, next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Thanks, guys.